Welcome everyone, we're taking a look at a few of the brand new games coming to the Nintendo Switch this week. Are any of them worth the money? Well, only time can tell, but for now I can at least give you a rundown of what they're all about and what they offer while we wait for them to hit the eShop. Many of the games are on sale as well, so if something does catch your eye, don't be afraid to snatch it up before the deals end. And with that said, we'll dive in. Please enjoy the video. Girl Genius Adventures in Castle Heterodyne is a single-player 3D adventure title from Rain Games. The story follows a young woman called Agatha as she explores an ancient castle. You'll have to solve puzzles and fight off enemies along the way. It has a colorful art style, and of course it is based off of the graphic novel series by the same name. You don't need prior knowledge going in though, so don't stress too much if you haven't read them. The game has 4 difficulty settings with the option to play through in story mode, which takes away all of the danger and allows anyone to enjoy the entire game without worry. It offers about 10 hours of gameplay and it released today, April 3rd, here on the Switch. The download is just under 3 gigs and the price is set at $34.99. Knowledge Keeper is a retro-themed top-down puzzle game that has us working through a ton of different levels, collecting shards and avoiding traps along the way. You'll have to master several different mechanics to get through the game, and while the story is pretty bare bones, it does enough to push you forward. And besides that, the real draw here to the game are the different types of puzzles that you'll encounter. They can work your brain pretty good at times, but you also have that rewarding feeling when you get past one that's had you stumped. Knowledge Keeper releases again on the 3rd of April with a price tag set at $4.99. However, you can pick it up with a $1 discount until the 4th. The download is a little under 350 megabytes. Up next, we have Flightpath Adventures in Venaris, which is a top-down shoot-'em-up that releases on the 3rd here on the Switch. It was developed by East Asia Soft, and the download comes in at about 275 megabytes. The game features fast action and gives us 10 dynamic stages to blast our way through, and 3 different pilots to pick from. They each have their own backstory, and the levels themselves feature randomized events and different paths that alter how the rest of the game will play out. You can also upgrade your ship's weapons and defenses, and for fans of the genre, this looks like it might be a great pickup here on the console. It's priced at just $9.99, and again it releases today here on the Switch. Freedom Planet 2 is a single-player 2D action platformer that gives us more than 10 hours of gameplay, and once again follows the 3 main characters from the first game, while adding 1 new playable character into the mix. The combat has been improved and they all have unique skills and abilities. The game spans more than 20 different stages and they've included 3 different game modes as well, so there is a ton of replay value. And on top of that, you can add different game modifiers if you find the game is a bit too difficult by default. Now, it was clearly inspired by older Sonic games, and Part 2 releases on the 4th of April. The price is set at $24.99, but again it is on sale until the 11th, marked down 10% to just $22.49. The download is a little under 1.5 gigs. The Gap is a narrative-driven puzzle-style adventure game from Label This, and the story follows a young man called Joshua as he searches for a cure for a terrible illness that plagues his family. Now, the game can definitely be pretty heavy, so be prepared for that if you plan to pick it up, and it's more of a walking sim with puzzles thrown in on occasion, but of course the story is going to be the main draw versus the actual gameplay. In fact, the gameplay itself is probably the weakest part of the whole experience and may turn some away before reaching the end. With that said though, if you do enjoy a good thriller, the story should keep you engaged all the way through. This one releases on the 4th of April, the price is set at $19.99, and again you can pick it up at a discount marked down 20% until the 11th, and the download is just under 1.5 gigs. You can expect about 3 hours of gameplay from the pickup. Up next, we have Savage Age, which is an interesting game coming to the Switch this week. It blends survival and combat with base building and tower defense for a unique experience, and it seems a bit ambitious for the Switch, so of course I'm excited to see how it runs when it comes out later this week. It has a gorgeous art style and follows a young hero through 21 different stages as he works to obtain a sacred artifact called the 3-Wing Totem. The levels are littered with secrets and collectibles, and the game does reward you for exploring a bit, and once you've finished, you can unlock the Endless mode for added replay value. It releases on the 4th of April with a price tag set at $14.99. The download is around 1 gig, and again you can pick it up on sale until the 11th, marked down 20% to just $11.99. Kudzu is a retro-themed adventure game set to release on the 5th of April. The price is set at $4.99 and it has a small download under 50 megabytes. Now I think for this one I'll let my buddy Nima give you his thoughts, as he was able to get the game early and he put out a review over on his channel, NGC Gaming Community. Here's what he had to say about the game.
The game is awesome. I have to say that a lot of the 8-bit legit or retro games, which by the way I have to thank 8-bit legit for a review of this game, they're fun, right? But they're more in the style of Metroidvanias, the Mega Mans, even a little bit to do in the Marios. But the one game that they sort of all miss is Zelda. And so when I was offered a review code, I thought, well, this will be fun, it'll be interesting. It probably will lack a little bit in story, and it'll be sort of your retro Metroidvania or Mega Man style game. And then I found out as I was playing it that it is more inspired by a Zelda type game, that action adventure where you're traveling to different dungeons, looking for better weapon upgrades, some upgrades you need to further your progress in the game, great bosses, that whole thing. Like, this game is like a marriage between Link's Awakening and the original Zelda. Game is really fun. And the story itself is actually really interesting. As I first started to play it, I was like, oh, whatever. And then I actually looked into it. Now, Kudzu is an actual plant. It was called the plant that ate the South, as we'd brought it in because it provides like fertile soil, but it grows really fast and it's hard to really maintain. So it is known as an invasive plant species. And in this game, you are an apprentice to a master gardener who is actually working with Kudzu, and of course things get out of hand, as this game really does kind of become a horror game. And I'm not going to ruin much more of the story, but I will say this game becomes less fighting the piranha plant in Mario and more fighting like the T-virus in Resident Evil. And all of this in that like wonderful Zelda aesthetic. And honestly, I like the main character as well. I don't know why, but it gives me like the vibes of the dude, just like relaxed yet in this horrible situation. And the puzzles of the game are really great. The upgrades, there is so much to like here. Honestly, there is only a few things that I have to complain about. And most of it is things that I think I would complain about because it's a retro game. For instance, like the maps. The maps don't tell you where you're currently at, they just give you an overview of the whole area you're in. That's kind of annoying. And I will say one thing that definitely can be a problem is that if you're in combat or you're in an area with enemies, when you press the pause button and then you press the pause button again, the enemies will go back to where they were when you first came into the room. And sometimes it could be right where you're standing, and so you'll take a hit unintentionally. But that is what it is. There is a little bit of chugging at times, but I'm not sure if that's on purpose. Like, it doesn't affect the game in any way, but you can tell like a little bit of like a processing issue or something. And sometimes these like retro inspired games kind of put that in there just because it is very nostalgic. And speaking of nostalgia, this game does actually have a Game Boy cartridge that you can purchase, which I definitely got to get me one of those because I really do like this game a lot. Far more than I thought I would, if I'm being honest. And I will say that this game does definitely earn an 8.5 out of 10 from me. It was honestly the best of all these indie games, and I did not see that coming. Anyway, take care everyone. I love each and every one of y'all. Bye-bye.
Alright everyone, I hope you found the video helpful. If you had a good time, please remember to drop a like down below. Subscribe if this was your first time here, and I will see you on the next one.
Super Retro Force.